everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we are down here in the insanely incredible studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. Hey, if you guys saw last week's episode, I know that you guys probably were entertained and probably pumped up. I had the hype man, David Hatton, on the show, all about some MMA fighting, and then he gave his backstory. It was really cool. Well, that got me to thinking. And I was like, you know, what would be really cool is to maybe string together a couple like I used to do, put together a small series and kind of put a little highlight on MMA, because whenever I was reflecting on some of the things he had said, it did make a lot of sense to me how disciplined you have to be, how hard you have to work. And so a person was brought to my attention, and I thought, wow, if this individual will come down here to SRP Studios, which is very lavish, as you can see, I was like, man, I think a lot of people would really get a lot out of that individual's story. She is quite an amazing person, and I think you're about to find this out. She's 16 years old. Her name is Breana, and she's from just down the road. And at this time, let's bring her into the conversation. How are you doing, Miss Bree?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. So, first time ever on a podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you think about the studio?
Well, it's nice. It's nice. It's cozy. Everything feels very welcoming.
The lighting, right?
Yeah.
So it's like really kind of gets you into the moment. You're like, wow.
Right.
Good stuff. Well, Bree, so I found out through a mutual friend that we have that you are 16 years old, correct?
Yes, sir.
You have graduated high school.
Yes, sir.
And you're pursuing MMA.
Yes, sir.
All those things were fascinating enough. And I'm like, wow, that is something I need to know more about. But then as I got to talk to you a little bit on the phone, you told me even more. So I was like, okay, we're just going to make sure we save a lot of this for the show. So let's start out like I like to do. Tell me a little bit about where you've grown up, where you're from, family members, brothers, sisters, stuff like that.
Right. Okay. So I've grown up in Mississippi, South Haven, Horn Lake area. I originally went to South Haven schools, and I went homeschooled after that, and I was able to do 2 years in one, which is how I was able to graduate early.
Okay.
And I got my mom, my dad, who's helped me with my MMA training for about 8-9 years now. And then I got 2 sisters, and I got a couple of other like half siblings. But I got just a really supportive family, and it's been fun.
Where do you fall in the sister lineup?
I'm closer to like.
Are you older or younger?
No, I'm younger.
So you have 2 older sisters?
Yes, sir.
How much older?
One is 24, and then one is 17.
They whoop you up some?
No.
Oh, they didn't. They didn't whoop you up. So I think maybe this is like, self-defense. You're like at 4, and you're like, you know what?
No.
We're about to tangle. We're about to do this thing. All right, I got you. So growing up around here, DeSoto County, did you have an idea as a child what it was Bree thought about doing as you got older?
Yeah.
And you're still a child. I get that part,
Right.
but like a younger Bree.
Right. I used to want to be a veterinarian because my mom used to work at a vet, and I just all around loved it. Like, I used to go to work with her every day, help with the animals. And I also used to play softball, so I was, really trying to do a lot with that. And then just as I got older, it just kind of changed to more like the fighting. And then I wanted to be like FBI agent, which I'd still do veterinarian just because my love for animals.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely different when I was a child.
You could combine that and be like with the ASPCA. I hope I didn't mess those initials up. And you could investigate crimes against animals.
Very true.
You're just like a combo. And then when you find the bad guy, you could drop an elbow.
Right.
All of those things could blend together.
Yeah.
So it's funny because usually when I have a guest on and I'm talking about their projected ideas in life, they're down the road a little ways of life. And so if they haven't started figuring some stuff out, they probably should get on the ball.
Right.
But that's the beauty of having somebody like you here, is that how you can mention 5 things and all 5 things could still be a very real possibility. You're still so young in life. But the thing that's intriguing, and I think my listeners and viewers would agree, is that you're 16 and you've accomplished a lot already, and you have these visions and dreams and goals, and you're going after them. And it's not something that's just like a lot of kids that I know personally. I coach softball. And I teach at college, and I know a lot of young people, they'll have these ambitious ideas with no action. And you can't get anywhere without action.
Right.
You gotta put some legs to the thoughts for it to ever come true.
Right.
And you've kind of been doing some of that. So at what age was it, or do you have an influence, should I say, that pushed you in the idea or gave you the idea about cage fighting? Because the truth is, at 15, 14 years old, I'm like building, I'm out in the woods or something. I'm hunting, I'm building a blind, I'm doing those things. What brought you in that direction?
I was around 8 years old when I started. It was one of my mom's friends at the time. They fought, and I kind of watched some of them, and I was like, that's kind of cool.
They fought like in the cage?
Yeah, they did MMA too.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. And so I started with karate, and I ended up just really liking it, and so I just wanted to like do more and more. And then around, I'd say 10 years old, I was like, I want to fight in the cage. So
what'd your mom and dad say about this?
My mom was like, go for it.
Really?
Like, she's #1 supporter all the way.
Wow.
And so is my dad, because he fought for a long time.
Oh, really?
Around, 8 to 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
MMA?
Yes, sir.
Who knew that families grow up in the MMA? I guess at that point, at some time, you got to be like, if I don't step my game up, I could get whooped.
Right.
So, you mean, like, you got to bring your own at somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyways. So did your sisters have any of these desires, ideas?
They did it for a little bit. My 17-year-old sister, she's more of like, she likes drawing. She likes more arts type stuff. Mm-hmm. So she was like, that's not really my cup of tea.
Sure.
And then my oldest sister, she liked it, but she just... Same thing. She wanted to do other stuff. She likes more like graphic designs, doing stuff for like our MMA promotion. Mm-hmm. So
where all have you participated or fought, I should say?
I've mostly fought in Mississippi at like the Lander Center or the Hernando Armory, and then I just recently had a fight in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And I've done jits competitions where we've traveled to New Orleans and all type of stuff.
Yeah, so. It could be just as involved as anything. So I have a friend whose son has grown up doing jiu-jitsu. Right. And now, understand, I'm not versed in this, so it may be a mockery, and I don't mean it to be. Don't come after me. But there's a certain type thing where they do the swords and the sticks, and then they flip, and then it's like, and then they yell a lot.
Right.
That's a competition.
Right.
Yeah, and so that he does that stuff.
Okay.
So I think there's like the competition where you fight each other, or you spar, or whatever the word is.
Right.
What would you call it?
I call it sparring.
Sparring. Okay, yeah. I was thinking it was that. And then you have the kind where they perform, and he does a lot of the performance stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, so I'm familiar, right? But I'm not versed in it, so that's why I'm leaning on you for the education,
right.
And that my viewers don't beat me up for not knowing what I'm talking about. So, anyways, so you've started doing this at 10, and you're 16. That's 6 years of experience.
Right. Well, I actually started when I was 8. It was just around 10 years old. I was like, I want to
start really training, getting more into it and stuff like that. I would say that it makes sense, but I'll let you talk about it. What kind of mindset do you have to have? What kind of mental toughness do you need? Because physical toughness is one thing.
Right.
But really, to be honest with you, most people are way more physically capable of doing things than they are mentally. They check out so quick. So at a young age, how much of that plays into what you do, and how do you build that?
It's definitely a big mental game. You have to have a very disciplined mindset and just a no quit attitude. Like, you just have to keep going. You have to learn from it. Like, you can't get mad if you get something wrong. You're just like, okay, let me fix it. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely hard. There's definitely days you're like, man, this is tough. But then that's when you have to be like, this is what I love to do. Yeah. So you just got to put your all into it, but it's definitely a hard thing to do.
I think one of the things you just mentioned, maybe not in the same context, but it is the same mindset, and that is knowing your why. You have to know your why. Why did you start? Why did you start to begin with? I like to bring in some of my stories when it applies, and one of my things that I like to challenge myself with mentally, it's a mental challenge more than it is physical. People have a hard time wrapping their head around that, and that's distance running. And when I did a 50-mile race last March, and I'm like, less than 20 minutes in, I was not liking it because the course was horrible. It was soaking wet, muddy, and I wanted to quit. And I'm like, well, why did I start? It started because of the challenge.
Right.
So much of MMA in itself, I would imagine, there's this personal challenge. You're fighting another opponent at some point, but you're having to discipline yourself to wake up early, work out hard, go through all the different techniques that you have to learn, and then ultimately try to apply that on game day. And if game day doesn't work out your way, then you have to figure out a way to go back to the drawing board, figure out what you did well, what you did wrong, and then retool. At 16, how do you have that? Who was your influence? Was it your parents? Where does that come from?
My dad definitely helped me a lot with that, and so did my mom, because like I said, she's been there since day one, #1 supporter. And so I think just when I do have those days where it's like, this is hard. They remind me, they're like, this is what you love to do. Like, why did you start,
Yeah.
And I've just always been that independent, hardworking kid.
So you were like this as a child, small child,
yes,
growing
sir.
up.
Yes, sir.
Doing chores.
Right.
Helping out with whatever.
Right. And like I said, I played softball, so I was super competitive in that. And it's like I'd give it my all. Mm-hmm. So my mom was, like I said, she's been there.
It's too bad you're not 14. I could use you on my team right now. Just saying. So that's, those are tools that I think can be instilled in a person. But I also have a belief that a lot of times it's a genetic thing. People are born with certain aspects that they are just drawn toward. Whether you, I'll just say this. I've known people that came from parents that their parents were very driven, very motivated, and the kids were just like checked out. They had no motivation. And the flip, where I've seen parents that are not very motivated to do stuff, and their kids are just driven. They just want to achieve whatever. And so I think there is a point of there's influence, but then there's also that part that's just born inside of you.
Right.
And to find what it is that you love, usually you're going to be a lot better at it.
Right.
Like if I was forcing you to sit down and paint stuff, do art.
Yeah.
How are you going to like that?
I wouldn't be very
Probably not
good
going to do that very long,
yeah.
right? So all of a sudden the paint's going to be everywhere. It's going to be like a Picasso.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You got to find a passion. So it's interesting that you found that passion at such an early age, and you've been able to start to pursue this thing. Where do you think this will go for you?
I'm really hoping to try to make it to, top level, like UFC type stuff before I'm 20. I'd like it to be 18, but, let's make it realistic just a little bit. And after that, I'm going to try to pursue in, like, my FBI or veterinary type career I want to do.
So are you looking at college?
Yes, sir.
Where are you thinking about going?
I want to start off at Northwest for, like, the first 2 years so I can also, continue my fight career. And then after that, I think it's Northwest is connected to Ole Miss.
Sure it is. Yeah, they got the campus here in DeSoto County and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'll do.
Excuse me. Got choked this morning. Coffee. I tried to chug some coffee. Now it's like I burned the back of my goozle area. So Northwest, Ole Miss, studying some FBI stuff.
Yes, sir.
Going down the police route. Obviously, your MMA can help you there.
Right.
And look, I got to tell you, anyone looking at law enforcement as a career, you got to have some mental fortitude.
Right.
It's not an easy job. It was never an easy job. I think it's a harder job now than it's ever been. I mean, would you agree?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you see the stuff on the news.
Yeah.
There's people out of control at times.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And guess who's on the front lines dealing with all that?
The people.
The police.
Yeah.
And so FBI, of course, is next level, and maybe you're investigating things, but you got to start somewhere.
Right.
And a lot of those folks end up starting in the streets. So the MMA may come in handy. I want to ask another question about the MMA. So I want to jump straight into the MMA because that's a very fascinating part of you. And I know that would probably engage your thoughts for a second. And there's some other things I definitely want to hit on. But how can I ask this? Is there a better option, karate, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that you would see preparing a person to go down the road of MMA? Or is it just individual style? I mean, I don't know the differences as far as what would be better for MMA.
Yeah, so there's definitely different styles. I think very basics, like if you're trying to do MMA, you want to do like boxing, stand-up, striking, all that, and jiu-jitsu, because you can't have one because then they'll learn that game plan and then you'll just
you need an arsenal.
You need like a variety of different
sort of like grappling and stuff.
Yeah, you want to know at least a little bit of everything to have a counter for, if your opponent were to do something.
That's very smart.
So,
do you see that that's a life tool?
Yes, sir.
You do. You realize that at 16?
Yes, sir.
To be able to adjust and pivot on the moment.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you realize this yet. You haven't lived enough years, but life is you're going to go down a path and you're going to think, this is my direction. And then life's going to say, no, it's not. And then you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to pivot off of that.
Yes, sir.
And the more tools you have in your toolbox, as I like to say, the better chance you have of being successful. One thing I would like to instill in you. So this is a coach camp. I love being able to have a moment to spend with youth and hopefully infuse some stuff. And maybe you came in here not knowing what to expect, but I want you to leave here feeling like you've been enlightened to something. And for so many young people, the idea of, I don't know what I'm going to do next in life, can be so overwhelming. But you have just helped a little bit build the story of why it's so important to explore things, in that you have 5 things you've listed out that you're still interested in. but you're pursuing things while you're looking at other options.
Right.
But it's not just that you're pursuing them, Bree. And this is what I want my listening audience, and this is what I would want young people to hear right now, is you're doing it full effort. Don't do anything and then just put your toe in the water and back up and be like, well, I don't know. You didn't even give yourself a chance at it. You've got to, if you're going to try something and you're going to feel like you need a passion toward it, go all in. Now, it may change. Life will always adjust to whatever the situation is that you're going through. You're going to end up having to rethink how you're doing something or what you're doing over and over and over. But you went all in. So how much dedication are you putting into your training? Like, how often are you training? How long are the training days?
I train 5 days a week, sometimes 6, and they're about an hour to an hour and a half. That's just at my regular MMA gym. And then I have a weight gym I go to after class, and I'm there for about another hour, hour and a half.
Wow. So essentially 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
At least 5 days a week.
Yes, sir.
Maybe sometimes 6.
Sometimes 6, yes, sir.
And what does that do for your body? I mean, it's you gotta heal, but you're probably young enough. You can heal a lot quicker than me. If I fall funny, we're limping for like 2 weeks.
Right.
Yes, it's just that's what happens when you get older. So what's that like? I mean, are you looking at nutrition? Are you looking at your, what your diet is, your adjustment on your fluids? How is all that going?
Yeah, it's definitely tough on your body, especially doing it so consistently. So you have to make sure you drink enough water, and you have to make sure you eat your protein right. And the diet's a big part of it too. Can't just be eating fast food every day.
I mean, it's okay to have some moderation, right?
Right.
But that can't be your mainstay. Can't be chicken nuggets every day.
Yeah, right. And so it's just, you have to have your rest day. So like Saturday, you have your rest day. Sometimes we'll do these ice baths. It's good for your muscles.
Oh man, I'm an advocate for it. I have a hard time getting in there.
Right.
But once I'm in, I'm like, and I get out, I'm like, I feel fresh.
Yeah, you feel better.
But getting in, that's not easy for me. But yes, ice baths. Obviously, the training, the diet, all of these things are associated to one thing that you have to stay focused on. Do you know what that one life tool is that so many people lack, but it's the one main ingredient you have to be successful at anything you do in life? Do you know what it is?
What?
Self-discipline.
Yes, sir.
And if you can't find a way to get that,
yep,
you can't achieve anything significant. It's so easy to quit.
Do
you know that?
Yeah.
But for those that have that drive, it actually is the hardest thing to do.
Right.
For people that find that drive, quitting is like, well, I'll quit when I'm dead.
Yeah.
But the idea that a person will go through some tough times in their life and struggle and fight through that and come out the other side, it's going to require some self-discipline along the way.
Right.
You can build a lot of things. You can have self-esteem. You can have self-confidence. You can have a great base in a lot of areas. But if you don't have the ingredient of self-discipline, you're not going to get anywhere. Right. You may sustain, but you're not going to get anywhere. You have to have that to grow, to be intentional about what it is you're trying to do. So obviously, you have a lot of these tools at a very young age. I love the idea whenever I started thinking about a person that has accomplished some of the things you've done and going down the road you're going down, to come in and share that, because maybe there'll be several young people, teenagers, that will see this and think, if she can do it, maybe I can. And I think that's the message, because were you born a robot?
No, sir.
Did you have special powers?
No, sir.
You're not a superhero.
No.
So you just, one day at the age of 8, were inspired by something you saw. And you said, I'd like to do that.
Yes, sir.
And rather than just make that a fantasy, you put legs on it and you started working toward it.
Yes, sir.
And that is why you're sitting in front of me, a graduated 16-year-old that is doing MMA stuff. And who knows how far it could take you if it's what you really want to do,
right?
How far you want to go. So let's look at some of the other things. All right. So I built the entire conversation up to this point about your fighting, which is a very interesting and intriguing part. At what point was it you thought to yourself, I want to graduate early? And then there had to be a why. So what brought you to the point where, all right, I want to graduate at 16, and why was that?
I've always liked to get stuff done. I don't like to procrastinate. Like, if I finish early, I get to start on this other stuff in my life that I'm trying to accomplish. I get to start that early, and I'm not struggling or rushing myself every day. Yeah. So, and I like learning. So the school part, it was just, I like learning new stuff. So it was fun to do. And so just being able to learn at my own pace and just do what I need to do, stay focused on it, it made it so much more easier.
Did you have friends that were like, Bree, what are you doing?
Not really. My friends have been supportive of me. So they're like, that's so cool. And just.
No regrets, though.
Yeah, no regrets.
You know, it's funny. I won't go into the long story, but I enjoyed high school a little too much that I had 2 senior years. So I was late getting out of there.
I got
Sorry,
you.
I was like Ferris Bueller. It's fun. But nevertheless, I think it's amazing that you had that foresight, that thought pattern of why you want to get out of here because you want to do this and you want to accomplish that.
Right.
And you put that moment into action, and now here you are. So along that line, there's also something else you do. What is it you're involved in?
I own a rescue with my mom. You
are a co-owner of an animal rescue.
Yes, sir.
How old were you when you got into that?
I've always been into animals since I was a baby. I think, and like I said, when she worked at a vet, I used to go with her. I was probably around 5 to 6 years old.
What animals did they see?
Cats, dogs, all types of stuff.
Because you know who Dr. Pole is?
Where?
Dr. Pole, he's in Michigan. He's got a TV show.
Oh, no,
He sees everything.
Yeah.
Chickens, lizards, you name it. He sees everything.
Right.
He's an everything doctor.
That's cool.
But anyways, I was just curious. So cats.
It was just cats and dogs is where it all started.
Gotcha.
And then she started working at Horn Lake Animal Shelter, and I volunteered there.
Okay, I know what that is.
Yeah, until I got my job, so kind of I wasn't able to go as much, but I still go pretty much every day. And I've just always loved taking care of dogs, helping them, especially whenever you see these super emaciated ones that come in. And it's
you're
like,
able to nurse
wow.
them back to health.
Yeah. Makes you feel really good. It's like I saved this dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called, now I wrote this down, correct me if I'm wrong, Paws in Hooves?
Paws in Hooves.
Paws in Hooves Rescue.
Yes, sir.
And you could go to that website on a .com with that.
Yes,
so it's
sir.
Paws in, like the letter
The
N.
letter N.
Hoovesrescue.com.
Yes, sir.
I have bad handwriting, so I should probably work on that too. So how old were you when this started?
I think I just turned, no, I wasn't even 16 yet. I was finna turn 16, so I was 15. We just started the rescue recently, so it was about a year ago.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And where is it located?
We're in DeSoto County. It's a foster-based rescue. So when we get these dogs in, we try to get them in a foster's house. That way they can, get back to health in the comfort of someone's home. And so, but we're originated DeSoto County, but we'll take dogs from wherever they need help from.
So if somebody calls and they're in Missouri and they find you,
if they need us, we'll go get it. So
you'll bring it in. You ever brought in any squirrels?
No, we never brought in any
I've
squirrels.
raised 2 squirrels.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they fell out of the tree.
Oh.
Yeah. One of them loved me. The other one hated my guts. So
that's interesting.
It's just like kids. They grow up. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's where we are. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hit on a few of the other ideas that I wanted to touch on, find out a little bit more about Bree, how you could get involved with her rescue if that is something that you're interested in. And look, I need you guys. Sign on. I need some sponsorships, man. Bring this thing in. Hey, look, we'll be right back after this.
A great opportunity awaits. The Motivate with Coach Camp podcast is now in its 2nd season, and we are excited to say that we have listeners all over the United States and in 19 countries. If you have a company and you're interested in some very affordable advertising, while at the same time supporting a great cause, please go to motivatewithcoachcamp.com and fill out that sponsorship page, and we'll get right back to you. You can support the podcast through donations on Venmo at Motivate with Coach Camp. Thank you to all the listeners and guests who have blessed this podcast with their engagement and involvement.
Welcome back, everybody, from that small little interruption break. Speaking with Miss Bree Shell, 16-year-old from Horn Lake that is very well-rounded, has accomplished a ton of stuff already, and has aspirations and dreams of doing so many other things. And so we've been sitting here talking to her, and you mentioned to me one of your biggest influencers, your biggest supporters is Mom.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. What you getting her for Mother's Day? This will air after Mother's Day, but
right.
Maybe, actually, it might air before Mother's Day. Yeah, I think it actually will. So it's coming up. Mom's the big one.
That is very true.
I tell you what, if it's a secret, because it might air before then,
no, it's not.
Think about it. Oh, it's not a secret.
No.
She knows what she's getting.
Well, she's getting a tattoo arm sleeve done. So, but I'm probably gonna figure out something else to get her too.
Okay.
So
tats bring the family together.
yeah, pretty much.
You want to share, because I don't know if maybe they can see this on the camera. You got a butterfly here.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to talk about that, because it has to do with your mother?
Yeah, it's a resemblance tattoo for me and my mom, and hers is like the outline of the butterfly, and it's like I came from her. I've learned from her, everything that I've become and I've done. It's all came from her. It started with her. So now I have all of that knowledge and just everything else that comes with it.
So do you think one day when you have kids, they'll have butterflies? And you'll continue the butterfly legacy?
That'd be pretty amazing.
Like an entire monarch group of butterflies flying in. I like that, though. Symbolism is everything. I believe that we do need reminders in our life to keep us centered,
right?
To remind us of why it's important. I think it's easy to lose focus on that. I don't know if you know this yet. When you get out into the world on your own and you're doing stuff and you're trying to accomplish things, and suddenly you'll hit patches. I've hit several, and you feel like you can't make the right decision.
Right.
You need to have a foundation where you can go back to, remember where you started, and know that it's important what you're doing, and know that you have the strength to get through. You've put a lot of that in your life already with just the self-discipline that it takes to train on a regular basis, to be able to manage all the other things. So you talked about all the hours that you put in. How much time are you spending at Paws and Hooves?
Oh, that's an everyday thing too.
So that's all day, and then you're going and working out.
Yes, sir.
And then you're coming back to that.
Yes, sir.
Wow. And where's the social life fit in?
I'm not really a social person. Like, I'll go out like on Saturdays, like on my rest day.
Yeah.
But I only have like a few close friends, and I'm not one of those people that want to just go out and hang out with crowds of people all the time. Like, I'm okay with my 2 friends, and we go drive around, have a good time. So, I don't know. I'm more of a homebody type person.
So you're a homebody, got a couple good buddies.
Yeah.
Are they into MMA?
Yeah, she actually does it with me.
Does she really?
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 16, and then I have an 18-year-old friend. She did it too, but she's finna have a baby, so.
Probably, I would not recommend getting in the ring while you're pregnant.
Right.
That's probably a no-no.
It wouldn't be very smart.
It's a no-no. So what happens if you guys have to fight?
Well, actually, me and my 18-year-old best friend, we did fight when we were.
What is that like?
11.
So, hang on. So when I was growing up, I grew up in Twin Lakes. Are you familiar with Twin Lakes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we had the Twin Lake hood rats over there. We would fight,
right?
But we were best friends. But we would fight, but it wasn't like a sanctioned fight. It was like, because you done took my stuff and you shouldn't have, and so now we just throwing down for a minute. But then we buddies again. What is that like going into, we're about to do like a competition fight,
right?
And it's your friend.
It's definitely weird. Weigh-in day, like the day before the fights, we weigh in and we take pictures. I couldn't stay serious. We were both laughing when we were squaring off with each other. And then we knew, no matter what, we're gonna be best friends going in and out of that fight. And it wasn't like a sanctioned fight. It didn't go on our records type thing. So it's just an experience type thing.
Yeah.
And when we fought, it's kind of like sparring, because we sparred each other every day in the gym. It's just a lot more people, a lot more high pace. But in the end, it was fun. We were like, we want to do it again. Really? So, yeah.
It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
You realize this.
Yes, sir.
You got to have a different mindset for that. So what's your go-to move? People have go-to moves, right?
Yes, sir. I really like throwing kicks. Those are my favorite. So I'd say probably like a round kick or a question mark kick's always been my favorite.
Is a question mark kick like what the Karate Kid did with the crane?
Similar, not exactly.
Not exactly.
It's just like you throw a front kick and then you'll switch it to a round kick. That way they think you're going low, but you actually go high. So.
Yeah, the bob and weave.
Right, kind of.
Yeah. I got you. That's pretty good. So do you do any groundwork? Like, I know there's grappling and the different arm bars, leg bars.
Yeah, that's jiu-jitsu, which is another thing I've done since the beginning. That's where I started too, besides karate. Mm-hmm. And arm bars have definitely always been my favorite with that. But
so what's the timeline? So like, how long is a round?
For MMA, it depends on.
Like the pros are like 5 minutes.
Yeah, pros are 5 minutes, and they're either 3 5-minute rounds, or there's also been 5 5-minute rounds.
Yeah, those are the big matches.
Yeah,
I've seen some of them.
And usually amateur fights are just 3 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
And with a minute break in between.
So Go Glove Boxing, are you familiar with this?
Yes, I've
Golden Glove Boxing. Yeah. So when I was 17, 18 years old, the guy that I worked for at the mall, he was a professional Gold Glove boxer. That's what he did growing up.
Yeah.
And he got me into some training. Now, full disclosure, never got into an actual formal match, but I did a lot of the training. So I was going to his house doing the speed bag, doing the heavy bag, stuff like that. And I can tell you this, to go full tilt for 3 minutes and only have a 1 minute break in between, you got to be in some kind of good shape.
Yeah. Some
kind of good shape. Recently, not going full tilt, hitting it hard as I can, I did a little workout on a bag for a minute, and I needed a 5 minute break before I came back to it.
Yeah.
So what's that like when you get gassed? Because when you get winded,
it's terrible. That's definitely where the discipline and the mindset comes in, because you're like, you have to keep pushing. You can't stop, And in training, especially when you get tired, that's when if you keep pushing, you're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
So the more tired you get, the next time you go to do it, you're not going to be that tired at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's where the big mental part comes in.
I want to tie this into life again. Folks, this is what Coach Camp does. I'm a coach. I'm a real coach.
Right.
So what you're talking about is when you see those trials and tribulations coming, when times are getting tough, essentially, we're talking about being winded, but I'm looking at the big picture.
Right.
And you make yourself keep going. When you get back to those points again in your life, they don't seem as hard, do they?
Yeah, they're not as hard.
You've grown in that moment.
Yes, sir.
Do you see what I'm saying, y'all?
Yes, sir.
This is not a euphemism. This is legit. This is real stuff.
Right.
You have now understood, and you've broken through some codes that people spend their whole life and never get to. You got to have self-discipline to get anywhere. You got to realize when you're going through a tough time that it's more of a gift than you realize, as long as you embrace it and learn from it.
You learn from it, yes, sir.
Because the next time, it's not going to be as hard.
Right.
You're going to be better at it, and it's going to actually strengthen you.
Right.
So that's what you do here. And look, I got to tell you, I've done the wrestling thing. So like I wrestled in that, and not formally again,
right?
Just playing around stuff. But man, you get so gassed, so winded, so quick. It's one of the things about running distance that I think I like. I can pace myself.
Right.
And where the mental struggle comes is deep in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I can run at a pace I breathe comfortable in and out my nose, just breathing nice and smooth. And I can do that for a long time. But it's the mental wear and tear. So when I'm at mile 18, 19, 20, that's whenever I have to start really focusing in and thinking about what I'm doing and nutrition and all that stuff. So it's a different type of game, but for you, it's happening.
Right.
It's happening pretty quick. So I definitely wanted to hit on your social life, and it sounds like that you're a homebody with some buddies that all have a similar interest, and I think that's part of what we all do is we gravitate toward those folks that have a similar like and interest to things we like, because then you have a common ground to work from. And I wish that my daughter was more of a homebody. She's not. She likes to get out there and go places. Do you see yourself as ever being a mentor to kids?
Yeah, I would. I used to teach kids at the gym, so I teach the classes, and it's fun. I like helping kids, and I've even the ones that say they're having a bad day, they need someone to talk to. I was always there for them, and I'd be like, okay, we did this. Now let's go focus on class. Get through it. Everything will be okay. So I definitely like helping kids.
And I've already touched on so many life points that you have developed that maybe you've not even put thought to.
Yes, sir.
And realized that that's what you were building, but that's actually what you have.
Right.
I think you have a gift that not everybody realizes they may have. And so it's like this. I'm a motivational speaker. All right. Besides the podcasting thing, I'll go and I'll speak to a lot of events. One of the things I tell them is I'm not about to say anything that's going to give you something you didn't have.
Right.
What I might say in the way I say it might unlock something that you've always had. So the way I may present you with some information might all of a sudden give you belief.
Right.
And then like, I could do that.
Like that light bulb goes off.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
But no one's ever spoke it into you. So I do believe you can speak life into a person and get them to believe what they've never thought possible. I think you have that gift, and I don't know that you realize that. I'm going to encourage you to start to think about how you could use that to help others.
Yes, sir.
It's not just that you pursue your own dreams. That's very important. If you don't take care of you, you're not going to be worth anything to anyone else.
Right.
You have to put yourself first in a lot of ways.
Right.
People think, oh, that's selfish. No, it's not. If you don't take care of you, you can't be the best version of you. And then you're really not worth much to someone else.
Right.
You're doing a lot of the you, which is what is necessary, especially at your age, but then everybody, it doesn't matter how old you are. The next part of this, the full gift, it's only a semicircle. The rest of it is you got to share. Once you realize you've tapped into something that is valuable and you now know what it takes to get whatever that is that you're looking for, whether it's a job with the FBI, whether it's winning every match you ever fight. Now the next part is share that with somebody else. Does you no good to take it with you.
Right.
You know, I was a firefighter paramedic for a very long time. When I retired, if I would have not started teaching and sharing my levels of knowledge and experience with the next generation,
right,
it's all lost. It's all gone. What a waste.
Yeah.
You're building things right now that you could start sharing with kids.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to throw this in there. I like to talk about it on the show because it actually brings in some knowledge and some awareness. I'm a part of the Hope Center, which is a mentorship for children.
Oh, that's cool.
We speak to kids from like 4th grade to 12th grade, and we bring in other kids as mentors.
Right.
To kids. I don't know if you realize this. Now, it may be different for you. Most kids, I can't say all, most kids don't listen to their parents.
Right.
I could say to my child, get out of the street. A car's coming.
I'll move out.
And they'd be like, there ain't no car coming. You could walk up and say, hey kid, get out of the street. A car's coming. You saved my life.
Right.
I just said the same thing. Like
right.
The words were the same.
Right.
So they hear it different.
Yeah.
Your words can be very impactful to kids. I'm encouraging you to consider, not that you have a lot of free time. It's obvious that she does. But consider getting involved in something like that,
yes, sir,
even at your age right now. And what I found when I got involved with it was I thought, here I am, and I'm going to help these kids with whatever. And it's full circle again.
Right. Because
whenever what you said with the dog situation, that you bring them in, they're emaciated, they're beat down, they look like they're about to die. You nurse them back to health. It's like that full feeling you get.
It makes you feel really good that you just saved something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You realize your efforts mattered.
Right.
It made an impact. That's what happens with these kids.
Yeah, that's another thing. Whenever I used to teach the kids, we'd take them to competitions, and just seeing them be able to actually use and, the stuff I teach them, and it works and they win their matches.
Oh, that's awesome, ain't it?
Yeah.
So how long did you play softball, by the way?
About 6 years.
What was that age?
Between 5 and 11.
Okay.
So I was still playing softball when I was going to the gym.
Yeah.
So I was doing both. I'd leave softball practice and then go to the gym and do what I could there. And I'm in catcher's gear, taking it off as I walk in the door.
Nice.
So
I guess if not that happens a lot in youth sports, but if there was a benches clearing brawl,
right,
they had you on your team. It was like, we're bringing in the heavy hitter.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, you've got a lot of life skills. You've got a lot of experience already at 16. I think that there are going to be a lot of doors open to you, not just in MMA, but I think that is just going to be a stepping stone to whatever else you want to do in life. It's building stuff inside of you right now that you may not realize how much it's going to play down the road. I can say that sincerely. I know there's been so many things I was involved in, and I didn't know what tools I was getting at the time. It wasn't obvious.
Right.
And then I get down and I'm started to do something different, and I look back and I'm like, man, I'm better at this right now because of that.
Right.
And I didn't know that's how it was going to tie in. So it may be a little vague, but I promise you, everything has value. It does sound like you have a good head on your shoulders and you're headed in a great direction. So what kind of advice would you give kids? Because I've said a lot. What kind of advice would you give kids from yourself? And a lot of this stuff is unscripted, y'all. I have my notes, but she didn't see them before we came in here. So a lot of times she's having to think about the question I'm throwing at her and then come back with something that is legitimate. So
yeah.
I'm doing that as a buffer. So you're thinking about this for a second.
Yes, sir.
What kind of advice could you give a kid that's maybe 10, 11, 16 years old,
right,
out there in the world that might need to hear it from a kid that maybe an adult would say it, but what would you say to them?
Just don't give up. Like, no matter any hard times you go through, like, you're going to go through them. In the end, it's always going to get better. You just have to keep pushing and want something good for yourself because, you are worth it. Like, there's so much you can do. You have all these opportunities. You just have to put your mind to it. So just keep going type thing.
Keep going.
Everything gets better.
Yeah, it does. And have some people in your corner.
Yes.
I think it's very important. You don't have to have everybody pull for you, but you need a couple people you can trust.
Yes.
You can go to when times are tough. I'm going to hit on this. We're getting close to the finish line, but there's a few things I also wanted to bring into our conversation because besides the fact of highlighting Breana, which is what this was about, I wanted people to see that you don't have to wait until you're 29, 39, 49 to start achieving big things in life. You can start at a very young age and you can work hard towards goals, have a vision, still dream big, but work hard in the process. And I felt like you bring that to the table, literally the table. And so I wanted to hit on that, but there's another side of this. And I'm just going to go into this area for a second because it doesn't sound like it hits on you, but I'm sure you're very aware. A lot of teenagers are dealing with a different world than what I dealt with social media, with all the changes that's happened in the world from post-COVID.
Right.
I mean, that was detrimental to a lot of people.
Right.
And so mentally detrimental and physically too, but like there was like periods of time that people didn't recover well from being isolated out from everybody.
Right.
And so there's been a dynamic that I've seen teaching that's post 2020 because I teach at college. And I will say there is a very real difference in our students 3 years post COVID than they were pre.
Right.
And then you have social media, which is a major distraction. Filling people's heads, not just kids, everybody's heads with garbage a lot.
Yeah.
I know I use a lot of social media. It's my platform, but there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good on social media. I will say that, but there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of negativity. There's these images and there's all these messages that would bring a person down. At 16, how do you, are you affected by these things? Or how do you stay away from that where it doesn't affect you personally?
I've never been the type of person to like the negativity. If anyone's, to say anything bad about me, I'm just like, you don't know me, so how are you going to talk bad about me? So it doesn't affect me. Unless you know me personally, it doesn't affect me.
So smart.
And just all the other distraction stuff and just stuff that's not correct information, just all that. I've always hung around, say, like, older people, wise people, so they'll sit there and they're like, this, and this, don't listen to this. It's not true. And they'll give me, like, history lessons from 30 plus years ago, and it's just, I hang around people that are able to guide me in the right direction and not fall for some of this stupid stuff that other kids fall for.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great advice. I wanted to get your take on it. I didn't want to put words in your mouth, but man, you said it perfectly. Know your sources. Don't buy into the negativity. And then the part that you said that is so important. God, I wish everybody in the whole world would hear this. Don't listen to other people's negative attitudes about you when they don't know you.
Yeah.
Teen suicide's very real.
Yes, sir.
Happens all across the country. Bullying is very real. Happens all across the world. I don't even say the country. We're not that isolated. This is the world.
Right.
If we could just stay in our own lane and realize that there are going to be plenty of people out there that have something negative to say. Focus on those people that matter most to you. Get the information from those people you trust the most. And in the end, try to be the best version of you can every single day.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have the impact you were intended to have. And I think that that's so important. At 16, it sounds like you're pretty squared away, young lady.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to make sure that I drove some of those key points home in this conversation, because when I was coming into it and I had seen your bio and I'd looked through all the stuff, I felt like you would have some words of wisdom at 16 that people could hear, because I could say the exact same thing you just said. And a lot of young people won't hear me.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I'm the old crusty dude sometimes, and that's all right. So that's why I like to have people's perspective. But you said it perfectly. I think that we should believe in ourselves. Self-confidence is key. Self-discipline is one of the ingredients you must have. And along the way, man, just every day try to do a little more. Try to be a little better.
Yes, sir.
And whenever you have a day you come up short, take that as a growth day. Go back and start again and keep driving. Well, Bree, I tell you what, I've enjoyed the conversation. We could talk all day. I actually have softball games I got to go coach today.
Right.
What's your size uniform? I'm just kidding. I need some players. I think I'm going to be missing some. Actually, my daughter's not going to be there in the first game. So anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, what do you want to say to the people out there as we wrap up today? This has been a great interview. I very much appreciate your time. It's early, by the way. You guys don't see this, but we had to meet at 8 in the morning
to get
kids, my daughter included, probably ain't even awake until like 9:30, 10 o'clock anyways. So you come down here to the studios at 8 o'clock in the morning. We got to get things in when we can, and here you are. So as we part and we finish up our day, you're heading out there to the world, you're going to MMA, you're going to take care of these animals. What you got for me on a final message?
Let's see. As we part, I had fun. I'm definitely going to take the mentor thing into consideration.
Good.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. I definitely enjoyed this. I'd do it again. So
what about the MMA? When are we going to get the big invitation?
Oh, I actually have a fight June 15th.
There we go.
At the Landers Center.
Okay.
I'm fighting 1-0. I'm 1-1. So I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm looking forward to it.
What's your division? What's your weight division?
I fought at 135.
And is it an age division too?
No.
So it's just a weight only.
Yeah, weight only.
So you could be fighting 25-year-olds.
I'm finna fight a 29-year-old.
Feel like that is against the law.
No, it's not. Yeah, and then my most recent fight, she was 26, I do believe.
Wow.
Yep. And then my very first fight, she was 23. So.
Okay, well, keep this in mind too. Coach Camp ever becomes like really big and I need a bodyguard.
All right.
All right, so just keep that as one more little thing. You have the investigation stuff, the cop stuff, and all that.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Bree, for coming out. Look, I know you guys got a lot out of this. I know I did personally. What an amazing young lady. Look, this is just encouragement to anyone else out there. That's the beauty of this, is that I share other people's stories on this platform, but it's the other people that make this whole program work. And it's people like you out there that watch. And I just hope that you got something from this. Encouragement. In the end, everybody can be great at something. Go find your thing. Go find what it is. Don't stop. Continue to tune in, watch and listen, share the word. Go to my YouTube. Go to my social media stuff. Sign on, motivateWithCoachCamp.com. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape,